It's that this podcast is for educational purposes only. Please seek professional medical advice before making any changes to your healthcare regimen. Everyone is different, and I also do not permit giving medical advice in the comments. Please refrain from posting anything political in the comments and keep the conversation respectful. Today's guest is someone who brings incredible heart, creativity, and resilience to the rare disease community, Regina. After recently retiring, she launched UniquelySarc, a project that combines her love for handmade earrings with her mission to raise awareness for sarcoidosis, that the rare inflammatory disease she lives with. Regina is also the author of To Hell with Sarcoidosis and Other Illnesses. And she actively advocates through writing, speaking, and support groups. She moderates AnCan Sarcoidosis support group, and she launched a creative writing class through AnCan, giving others a safe and healing place to express themselves. When you're living with sarcoidosis and another rare condition, or simply here to learn this conversation, or simply here to learn, this conversation will speak to the power of turning pain into purpose. Regina, thank you so much for being here today. Let's start at the beginning. Can you share what led you to your sarcoidosis diagnosis and what that experience was like for you?
Thank you for welcoming and wanting me to share my story. Thank you so much for that. I was diagnosed in 1994, but prior to that, I had became really ill, and frankly, nobody knew what was going on with me, and not even myself. I had began to lose a lot of weight. I wind up having a very, very dry cough. I wind up starting to feel like really fatigued. I kept going back and forth to the doctors, and frankly, they just kept blowing me off and just thought I had nothing but allergies. Um, it was just an uphill battle, and raising my two daughters at the same time. Um, it was just getting very, very frustrating to know that nobody could figure out what was going on with me. Well, one day I just started to feel just basically ill, and I felt like I couldn't live any longer. And so I called my parents and said, "Look, I think I'm dying." And so they just dropped everything, literally dropped everything, came and got me, took me to the ER, found out I had pneumonia, but it was in a spot of my lungs where you would never expect to have pneumonia. And how they found that out is they did a chest x-ray, and they came back, and that nurse was just starkly ghost like. And I'm like, "Well, what's wrong?" She said, "Well, you have pneumonia, but we're going to have to admit you because you're really sick." And I turned to my mom. I said, "Something else is not right." And she said, she just started praying over me. So they admitted me. And the next day, the doctor said, "Ma'am, we found a softball-sized mass on your lungs." Um, and so they didn't know what it was. So they started, I was hooked up to like tons of IVs. And one of the IVs was, as you know, an antibiotic. And I started to feel better after getting that antibiotic. But the thing is, the doctor said I was just so ill. And so they started running like mounds and mounds of tests on me. And then they wanted to do a bronchoscopy, they wanted to do a biopsy because I had, like, a small nodule that set up on my neck. They thought it was little, but when they did that biopsy, it was a huge knot. It was not a little one, it was a huge one. And, I was woke when they did that, literally. So the first thing that they did before they even could tell me I had sarcoid is they told me I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I called my mom up and I told her, I said, "Mom, I'm telling you, they just gave me my death sentence." And the first thing I thought is, who's going to raise my daughters? And, I had to switch my gears. I didn't even care about my health at that time. I had to switch my gears to think about who's going to care for my girls. My girls was the most important thing for me. I didn't care what was going to happen after that, you know. And I just cried. My mom, I can hear the silence on the phone. I had already lost a sister. Not then, but it was just my sister was going through a lot of stuff at that time. But the thing was, it was just me and my sister and four brothers, who was just going to take care of my girls. I couldn't give her to my sister because my sister had her own demons and battles that she was dealing with. Anyway, by the time I got out of the hospital, it was probably almost 2 weeks. They said I had a medical mystery. After doing a whole bunch of tests, any kind of excrement that came out of my body, they said, "You have a medical mystery. You're going to have to live with it for the rest of your life." I'm like, "What's the medical mystery?" They said I had sarcoidosis. Mind you, that was in 1994. So here it is now, 2025. I'm still here.
Mhm.
So I've been dealing with it for over 30 plus years.
Okay. I'm going to address the audience. I do want to say hi here to those who joined us yet so far. If I had to delete one comment, please keep the conversation respectful. Let's see, and so can you explain for us the difference between the cancer that you were diagnosed with and sarcoidosis?
I never even thought about the cancer. All I could think about at that time when they said it was Jackie Kennedy Onassis, because at that same time, she had just recently passed away with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Mhm.
I never even thought to look that cancer up.
Mhm.
I never even thought to look up sarcoidosis because at that time, I didn't even know what either one of them was, and at that
Mhm.
time, not the doctors didn't even know it, basically didn't know much about sarcoidosis at all.
Mhm.
They just called it a medical mystery. They give you steroids and send you on your way.
Mhm.
So I never looked it up, um,
So
'cause
you
I couldn't tell you what the difference was.
no, it's just you don't you basically never looked up your own condition.
No, because it was hard to do that back in 1994.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so I think you're the first one that hasn't looked it up. Everybody turns to Google on these things. Um, let's see, can you walk us through your diagnosis? How long did it take, and what were the early signs?
Um, being that it was in 1994, I didn't even know what the signs were, but like I said, I had a dry cough. I had my signs looked like allergies. The dry cough, I had some weight loss. I had like the tears eye tears. I had chest pain, some swelling, um, and then they said I had what they call asthma. Those were my symptoms. And so they put me on all of the asthma type medicines like the inhalers and allergy meds and all of that stuff, which none of it worked. None of it took care of what was going on with me for probably a better of 2, 3, maybe 4 years before I was truly diagnosed with sarcoid. So I think prior to that, it might have been about 4 years before I had a definitive diagnosis.
So what were your signs? What told you something was wrong?
Um, when I lost all that weight, I lost about 50 pounds. That's when I knew something probably was real wrong with me. And
Mhm.
then when my kids could tell that something was wrong with me, I kept losing weight and losing it. And I wasn't even doing much of anything. The only exercises I did was walking and riding a bike.
Mhm.
That was it. But I mean, I lost 50 pounds like real fast. That's unheard of.
So how did you gain the weight back?
Steroids. Yeah.
Um,
As soon as they put me on the steroids, I gained all that weight back and plus some.
did you change your diet at all?
Yes, I changed my diet. I did everything I could do. But because I was on so many steroids, it just my weight just blossomed.
Uh, um, let's see. What was the most surprising, or frustrating part of living? What's the? Let's see. What was the most surprising or frustrating part of living with sarcoidosis early on?
Not knowing what's going to happen next. I would be frustrated because if I get like some kind of skin thing, I wouldn't know if it was just a rash, a bug bite, or if it was actual sarcoidosis. Because I also have skin sarc too. I have I have a lot of different aspects of sarcoidosis over the 30 years now. I'm now considered a chronic person.
Hmm. So, how has the condition changed over time, and how do you manage how do you manage it day to day?
My conditions has changed over time. It has changed from just having it in the lungs to having it all over to my skin. I went from having lung sarc to skin sarc to neural sarc. It's in my joints, it's in my gut, it's everywhere. How I manage it, I've been on almost every treatment protocol there is. And now the last one I'm on now is on infusion every 4 weeks. That is how I manage it. And then I'm on like nerve pills
Mhm.
um, to care for it. And then I get plenty of rest because I do have a lot of fatigue as well.
Mhm. Mhm. What inspired you to launch Uniquely Sarc after retiring?
Well, my retirement was somewhat forced. And I know why they did what they did, but that piece I won't get into it. But I'm a busy person and I can't stand to just sit around and do nothing. So my fingers like to stay busy. And so I was just fiddling around with a earring kit that I had. I actually bought it to repair some earrings that I had years ago. And I'm like, wonder if I can make earrings. And so I made some earrings, and I like wearing jewelry anyway. So I said, why don't I make my own kind of jewelry? And And I'm very kind of low cost because people like to look nice and people like to wear jewelry, but they don't want to be expensive. Now, I do dabble in gemstones and different things like that. I've learned how to wire wrap. I'm at the beginning stages of wire wrapping. So I've upped my game,
Mhm,
as anyone would say or see, because it's fun, and I've learned it's like learning a new hobby that keeps you busy, and it's kind of fun.
mhm,
So but that I like to stay busy, and it keeps your mind going.
mhm. So how do you use jewelry as a form of awareness? And what kind of reactions have you received?
Well, first of all, let me back up just a little bit. The
Okay.
reason why my business name is called UniquelySarc is because it's modeled after the condition of sarcoidosis.
Hmm.
Sarcoidosis is no two people are alike, so you will not find any of my jewelry pieces. None of those pieces are alike. So it is modeled after that, the sarcoidosis model. And that's how I came about with Uniquely Sarc.
Mhm.
Now, now ask my question again.
Yeah. So let's see. How do you use jewelry as a form of awareness? And what kinds of reactions have you received?
Okay. How would I use it as awareness? Because um, people ask me about the name and how did I get it? And
Mhm,
that's how I bring about awareness. I tell them about the name, then I can go in and tell them about the condition and let them know that is what I have. And and then they get interested.
mm,
And so I let them know, hey, it behooves you to go get yourself checked out because you never know you may have that condition and not know it. Um, a lot of my doctors think that I may have had it since birth because when I was born, I had pneumonia when I was born. So that's how I use my jury to bring about awareness as well. Because people are interested and they're like, oh, I've never heard it. I've never even heard about it. And then when they hear about it, they're like, now I do remember one of my friends had said one of their friends have it, they remember a conversation that they had. And then that gains notoriety and they can go back and tell that friend, hey, I just met somebody with this condition. And then they can go back and tell that story and make sure that that person can go and get themselves checked out because then they can go and tell that story. It's just like a domino effect.
mhm. Um, so do you have any of your jewelry on you?
Um, these
Your
earrings,
earrings?
yes, these earrings are purple. When
Mhm.
I started off making all purple earrings. And then I decided, not everybody wears purple.
Hmm.
So I've gone a vast variety of jewelry. I started looking at what people wear. And then last year, I wound up getting a permanent booth at one of our local farmers markets.
Mhm.
And I sell a lot of jewelry there. And I also, this year, I got a little bit of notoriety. I got my first commissioned order this year,
Mhm.
and I'm just
Oh.
so thrilled. It was a big order too, so I'm excited. And I just mailed it off just this past week.
Mhm.
So I'm excited.
Yeah. So is there a so does purple have a significance to sarcoidosis?
Yes, it is the ribbon color.
Oh.
Mhm. And it's my favorite color too, so.
Yeah. So tell us about your book, To Hell with Sarcoidosis and Other Illnesses. What inspired you to write it?
Um, I write poetry. The book is in the form of poetry, and it is an outlet for me. Poetry and writing is an outlet for me. And I decided that I wanted to write something that will help others. And I'm not out here to make money off of it. And I wanted people to, I wanted to say things that I know people are thinking. And so I wrote it, and then I wanted to write it in 2 parts. I have my book right here. This is it.
Mhm.
And in this book, it's written in 2 parts, dealing with sarcoidosis and then living with it. In the beginning, a lot of times you are angry because you've been diagnosed with something that you didn't ask for, and or you didn't know you was even a carrier with it. And so a lot of it is a little bit angry in the beginning. And so what I did is I wrote a poetry piece or maybe even a verse, or it could just be a sentence. And then the next page is like um, a prompt. And then a couple of pages where you just write, like in a journal.
Mm.
And it's like that throughout the entire book. So once you get done with that, you can relieve all of your anger out in first, in the first part of the book. And then in the second part of the book, but in the first part, it goes, you kind of get the gist of it. And then in the second part of the book, is living with the condition. Now that you starting to feel better about yourself and about living with your condition, then you can live with it. Finally live with it. And then the second part is exactly what it is. You're living with your condition. It talks about relationships, living with relationships, about basically relationships, continuing on with your journey and just being who you are and owning up to having this condition. And that's what it's all about, is finally living with the condition. And then there's a few pages in the back where it says, now it's your turn, write your own journey. You have a chance to write your own part of your journey. So this book is not just for people with sarcoidosis. It's a book for anybody with any kind of illness or any kind of sickness. I put in sarcoidosis because that's exactly what I have, you
Mm.
know? And that's why I called it journaling my inner thoughts,
Mhm.
because it's what people are thinking on the inside. And, so I wrote it down, I wrote it out and published it. I designed the whole entire book myself.
Mhm.
Um, and so I used it through Amazon,
Mhm.
self published. So,
So, let's see. You started a writing class through AnCan.
yes,
Um, what made you
mhm.
feel that creative writing could help other patients?
Because people like to write. And I found out, and it just happened because a bunch of ladies, they also have a women's group too,
Mhm.
women speaking freely group through AnCan, and I belong in that group too, and it's like a women's support group.
Mhm.
So we just talk about anything basically in there, and so while in that group, we I we were all talking about things that we were writing about,
Mhm.
and it hit me. I said, why are we not having a writing group? They have an art group there. Why not a writing group? And so I took it to one of the people who work in AnCan and asked if we can have a creative writing group. And so they came back to me and asked me, would I mind being the moderator for that group? And I said, no, I don't mind. because I like to write. And you know what? We've had that group since February, and they actually love it. We have a great time in that group. It's wonderful. And I wholeheartedly would love for people to actually join in. It gives everybody an outlook. We discuss our writings in there. We talk about how to write. We have free will, how we want to write, and we journal. We just do all kinds of things in there.
Mhm. So, what role has expression played in your own healing or processing of illness?
No, say that again.
What role has self expression played in your role? I mean, in your own healing process, processing of the illness?
What role?
Yes.
Being myself, um, doing what it is that I want to do, like being in my garden, writing, just being my authentic me,
Hmm.
um, being free and being an advocate. I never thought I'd be an advocate for sarcoid. I never thought I'd be an advocate for anything, but having a condition such as sarcoidosis or for any type of condition, you just never know where your life will take you. And being positive about life in general, you know? So I'm going to have sarcoidosis until I die. And when that doctor told me I was going to live with sarcoidosis for the rest of my life, I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do? So it took me a few years to understand I'm not dying.
Yeah.
It literally took me a few years to understand that. But it also took me a few more years to understand that this condition is crippling my body, but I have to live with it
Hmm.
and I have to adjust. You're always in a mode of adjusting and living a new normal all the time. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book. There is a poem in here about living a new normal. Um, and I actually would like to read one of the poems out of the book before we leave.
Uh, Good.
Just, huh?
You go ahead and read it.
Oh, okay. And it's about the journey
Hmm.
because it is like my journey.
Hmm.
And it is called The Journey of the Purple Snowflake.
Hmm.
And this kind of sums up what we're talking about. The journey to becoming a purple snowflake is long and arduous. It takes you through many parts of the body, mind, and soul. It cuts, slices, ravages. It destroys. It even kills. The journey to becoming. Why are we on this journey? No one will ever know, not even us. We hit many roads of lumps, bumps, and pains unknowingly. We see many people who tell us what is wrong. They say you have a mysterious disease. We look at as if we're looked at, excuse me, we get looked at as if we are plagued. We are. The mysterious disease is called sarcoidosis. We slide into the abyss of pulmonologists, dermatologists, neurologists, and cardiologists. But do they really know? We get thrown into the world of medications, Remicade, methotrexate, Plaquenil, prednisone. But do they help? Can there be a cure for this devastating journey? Talking, walking, working, and waiting endlessly? Raising awareness for that glorious cure, we wear purple to represent the regal fight against sarcoidosis. The symbol, a snowflake, individuality. No one is the same. We are different. awaiting for this mysterious disease to disseminate. We are the purple snowflakes, Sarc warriors, which is our journey of becoming. We continue to grow limp and fatigue on a daily basis, waiting for this journey to end. In the meantime, we will stand tall with all Sarc warriors alongside the scientists, doctors, and the researchers who are working towards a magical cure. We reach out to others with this mysterious disease. We cry, we share, we support, we teach, we love. We wait, we pray. We continue to fight the fight. Sarcoidosis is our journey to becoming a purple snowflake.
So how do you? Okay, so go back down. For those who may not see themselves as creative, what advice would you give them on getting started?
To keep a journal, continue to write. Journaling is the best way, and believe it or not, you don't have to be creative to write. A lot of people are not creative, but journaling is a form of being creative, writing your thoughts down. I've been writing for years, just writing little blurbs here and there. Um, some people do struggle, but everybody in their own right is creative, whether they know it or not. And I have to remind my people in my creative writing group that all the time. Um, Journaling is a form of creative writing, whether they know it or not.
Mhm.
If all they do is just journal every day. A lot of times when people wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's when you get your fresh thoughts. And when you get thoughts like that, those are the best times to write down something.
Mhm.
Believe it or not. That's how I wrote a lot of my pieces. It's at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Even when I'm making my jewelry, those thoughts come to my mind um, that early in the morning,
Mhm.
literally. And I have to keep thinking about them, and I write them. Sometimes I write them down. It's just like I have a piece of jewelry that I know I want to have made, and it's an earring, but I have to find someone to make it, cut out a pattern for me, a metal pattern, and make like tons of them so that I can make a signature earring. I have the idea, but I need to find somebody to do it for me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have motor problems with your hands, or so?
Huh?
Do you have issues with your hands?
Oh, no. But what I need is because the earring is going to be a metal earring, the bottom part of the earring is going to be metal,
Mm-hmm.
and I need them to design it. I know what the earring is going to be. It's going to be my logo,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to be designed. It has to have a hole punched in it, and want the earring to be like a metal earring. But then I need to have like a whole lot of them
Mm-hmm.
made at one time so that I can have a signature earring for my business.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, like, here's my layout. You see the logo right here?
Yeah.
That logo, just the logo head, I want it to be an earring.
Hmm.
And then when I want it to be like a metal earring. So what I want them to do is to make the head an earring, punch a hole in it, and then I can add my beadwork to it and everything else to it that I need to add to it. Or I can use them as charms or whatever, and it'll be my signature
Hmm.
um, piece for my business.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
So
you moderate AnCan, sarcoidosis support group.
mhm.
How has that community impacted you?
Oh my gosh, it is a wonderful community. I am so thrilled um, to be in that community. They actually highlighted me for one of their segments on a Wednesday night and interviewed me um, on one of their segments. They have called the uh, Arts Healing Night. It was on a Wednesday, way
Mhm.
back in January. It was wonderful. I had to stay up. It was real late at night, when you like be in the bed time, but
Mhm.
it was pretty nice. I love the community. It is a really awesome community.
So, what themes or topics come up in your group,
In the writing group, um,
in the support group?
in the sarcoidosis support group,
Right.
some of the themes and topics that come up, they talk about fatigue, they talk about medications, where doctors, the types of doctors that we have, how can you get support, um, talk about where can they can find like other support groups within their area. So some of the things that we do is refer out to the Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research, which is FSR. They have a ton of information for sarcoidosis patients, for people who are looking for some sarcoidosis resources. They have patient navigators, which I am one, for FSR. Um, they have other resources for support groups on their website. They have workshops. They also have webinars, that educational webinars that help out people who are seeking other resources for sarcoidosis support.
Mhm. Yeah, I've actually been part of several support groups, but the one um, it's interesting to see how far people get when they are in these groups. Um, are there any are there common struggles or breakthroughs?
Um, there is one drug I believe that has come out for sarcoidosis individuals, and it is called Acthar. There are some studies out now. There are some clinical trials, and you can find those clinical trials on the FSR website. They have a plethora of information. You can also look on the government website as well, or the NIH website for trials. Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, those different places may have those clinical trials on their website as well too.
So, I mean, are there any common struggles within the group? Is what I'm saying.
Oh, common struggles.
Right.
Um, the co- um, some of the struggles are for a lot of people we get are heart, cardiac Sarc.
Hmm.
That there's a lot of those struggles going around. People with cardiac Sarc.
Hmm.
Uh, there's some with pulmonary Sarc, but uh, there for the commonality, the people with the cardiac Sarc, there's a lot of commonalities in there in that area.
Mhm.
because the people with the cardiac Sarc, they have the LVACs or something
Mhm.
placed inside their heart, and so there's a lot of talk about those.
Mhm.
Yeah,
What about breakthroughs?
breakthroughs,
Mhm.
not that I know of, not yet.
Mhm. So, let's see. What do you wish more doctors understood about sarcoidosis or invisible illnesses in general?
Well, everything. I I wish they knew everything, but that's an impossibility.
Yeah. Nobody knows everything.
No, but I do wish they had some of them had better bedside manners. I'm telling you. But, what I wish they knew is, honestly, when I was doing I'll tell you this, for Global Genes, I did the patient compassion patient program for Global Genes, and what I learned in with talking to some of the students, what I learned is that what they should have better bedside manners. I'm gonna be honest, better bedside manners, and if a student if they're gonna be doctors, even if they don't get into, like, specialty fields,
Mhm.
that when they are studying, I'm sorry, but when they are studying, they need more than 2 slides or 2 minutes of learning about some of these conditions.
Precisely what
Huh?
that is exactly why I'm doing this.
They need
The
to learn.
the
I'm sick
paragraph textbook that they get, yes.
because that is the common now, in the compassion patient program series, that was the common thing I kept hearing in that arena, is
Mhm.
that the students, as they became doctors, they only received 2 or 3 minutes of instruction on rare diseases. Now, once they became doctors, I
Mhm.
wish the doctors, even though they're regular doctors per se,
Mhm.
because most of us have basically regular doctors, some of us only have a basic doctor, that they understood rare diseases more,
Mhm.
honestly, because some of us can't afford specialty doctors.
Yeah, so I am trying to get it into a university, haven't found anybody yet, but there's 56 different episodes right now, if you include this one, and it also covers the entire body. So there is no one specialty. Uh,
No,
Probably genetics and cancer are the two biggest categories, but um,
yeah, sarcoidosis is systemic,
hmm
and I'm one of those people who I basically have it all over,
hmm
and I'm considered a chronic patient, so
yeah, rare diseases in general are chronic because
mhm,
you live with for your entire life.
yep,
So, and the majority of them are invisible also.
mhm.
Um, so, and let's see, how can friends and family better support someone with a condition like sarcoidosis?
Woo, that's a big question. My family, I think family need to be more sympathetic, um, and they need to be more caring, and they need to be more understanding. All those 3 things, because in the beginning, my family was not. My family thought I was a hypochondriac, and when they actually found out I had a diagnosis, they abruptly changed, abruptly, because then they knew it was serious. And now it's like they don't even know I have it except for my mother. And I still have big support from my mother. My mother understands. And but family, um, they just need to be patient with us. I'm serious because rare diseases, I don't care what it is no joke.
Mhm.
No joke. Literally, just it is nothing to play around with. Um, it's just like when I go get my infusions, I am wiped out when I get home, and it takes me 3 to 4 days before I can come back to the living, literally. And my mom understands that. And so she'll call after I get my infusion and see how I'm doing and see if I'm feeling okay. Because she knows as soon as I get done, I have to go home and I have to go to bed and go to sleep. And I may sleep the rest of the day. And they just need to be patient, they need to be caring, and they just need to be understanding,
Mhm.
and they need to listen.
So if someone is feeling isolated or newly diagnosed, what's one thing you'd want them to know?
If they're the first thing they need to do is seek help, seek some counseling, seek out a patient navigator, seek out some services, resources immediately, because you do not want them to fall into a pigeonhole and feel more isolated.
Mhm.
I usually most people I meet who have sarcoid, I give them my phone number and tell them call me anytime. If you need to speak or talk to someone, call me because they may just need somebody to listen to them, and then I'll give them the resources because they may not know where to start or how to get started because they're going to need that's part of my advocacy work. That's part of my raising awareness.
Mhm. Yeah, when Frank was on here, he did really good with the mental health piece of this too. Let's see. Uh, oh, oh, see, Regina, thank you for sharing your story today. Your story, creativity, and your commitment to this community. Whether it's through your jewelry, your book, or your support work, you're making people with sarcoidosis uh, know that know that they are not alone. To everyone watching or listening, if you found if you found value in this episode, please subscribe to Rare Connection on my YouTube, on my channel, Rare Chef. Leave a comment below or text me using the link in the show notes. If you're on the audio side, there is send me a text link. Follow Rare Connection on Facebook, X, and LinkedIn. And don't forget there is I've been creating quizzes off of the podcasts, some of them, and so you can look for those in the on the community tab of my page, and call or text 988 in the US or for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You can also text hello to 741-741 to connect with a rare disease with a wait, let's see. You can also text hello to 741-741 to connect with a trained crisis counselor through through the crisis text line. You are not alone, and help is always available. Until next time, stay connected, stay informed, and above all, stay inspired. Thank you for listening. Thanks.
Thanks.